So finally, we want to look at applications with the more variables and more unknowns. And the keys from before will stay the same. Pick your variables so that it answers the question, and then make sure to combine like information depending on how it's given to you. All right, so this is a classic type of problem. It's not very realistic in my opinion, but it's reasonable, gives us a chance to approach these types. So we're told a fraternity, they order medium, large, and extra large t-shirts, and we're given the cost for that. And another sorority orders the same size of t-shirts for another cost. Okay, and then we get the same information for another fraternity. The order clerk wants to check to make sure the total costs were correct, but she doesn't know the prices. Okay, that's a little silly, but we keep going. Help her by finding the price of each size shirt. Okay, so if we want to find the price of each size shirt, then we want to pick our variables to answer that. And so we have medium, large, and extra large. And so I think I can call medium M. So this would be the price for medium. Notice I didn't just write medium. You should write down exactly what it represents. This is the price for a medium shirt. Okay, and now the other size was large. So we could say L. This is the price for a large shirt. And then extra large, so we'll call that X. And that's the price for extra large. Kind of lazy, but okay, that's good enough. Now I'm okay with you doing the dots when it means the same thing as above, as long as I can look and tell exactly what your variables represent. Okay, so now what I need to do is combine information. Now, what are we given? We're given the cost for each fraternity, right? And so if I was to go, I can't really combine mediums together because I don't have information where it says something like the total for the mediums were this. So in this case, it doesn't quite feel the same. I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, what information can I combine? All I know is the total cost for each fraternity or sorority. Well, let's think about that information. Look at alpha beta fraternity. Okay, 3 mediums, 8 large, 13 extra large gave you a cost of $357.50. So however much the mediums cost, you multiply times 3. However much the large cost, you multiply by times 8. However much the extra large cost, you multiply by 13, and you end up with that total cost. So this time, instead of combining all the mediums together, that idea of like information, I can't really because there's nothing to set it equal to. But what does make sense because of the way cost works is to say something like this: 3 mediums plus 8 large plus 13 extra large. The cost, when you multiply and add them up, you should get a total of $357.5. And now I can do that for each of the pieces of information. I'm going to have 16 medium plus 9 large should give me a total of 326. And then looking at the final one, pi beta, 6 medium plus 11 large and 14 extra large should give me a total of 453. And now I have my system of equations set up. Of course, you could solve this. I would wait until we talk about matrices to solve one with these types of numbers. That won't be fun with elimination. And don't be bothered here that we're missing extra large. It doesn't matter. You have 3 equations for the 3 unknowns. And so this would be your setup. Okay, let's look at one other. Okay, so in this case, we're told a company has production facilities in 3 places. Each one produces radios, stereos, and TV sets. Okay, we're given the production capacity, so that's how many of each they can make per hour. So they get an order for a certain number of radios, stereos, and TVs. How many hours should each plant be scheduled in order to produce these? Okay, so again, I'm going to name my variables to match up with what we're asking for. How many hours should each plant be scheduled? So I'm going to say V. It's going to be the number of hours to schedule Valley Mills. And so M will be the number of hours to schedule Marlin. And H will be number of hours to schedule Hillsborough. Now again, I need to look at this and anybody else, and they need to know what you mean. So if you just put V, M, and H here, I have no idea. Do you mean the number of people that work there? Do you mean the number of hours? What do you mean by that? So you got to give me something more than that. You got to say something like this. All right, so now, before we saw that the idea of like information sometimes is a little harder to see, let's see what we have here. We're told how many radios we need. And then we're told how many radios each place can produce. So in other words, For each hour you schedule Valley Mills, you're going to get 10 radios, Marlin 7, and Hillsboro 5. When all is said and done, you better end up with this many radios, right? So if I think about it, for each hour I schedule Valley Mills, I'm going to get 10. And when you combine that with Marlin, and you combine that with Hillsboro, you better get 1365. So here, the like information is the radios, and I do have something to set it equal to. And the same idea goes for stereos and TV sets. So every time I schedule Valley Mills for an hour, I get 12 stereos out of it. Every time I schedule Marlin for an hour, I get 10 stereos out of it. Same thing for Hillsboro, except now it's 4. And I better end up with 1530. And so that gives me my final equation of 6V plus 8M plus 13H equals 1890. And so here's my system of equations for this, which of course we could solve, but right now we're just looking at the setup. So again, this doesn't make sense without this, so make sure you're always putting a very specific representation of what your variables mean. On the online homework, that's not something you have to worry about that much, but definitely on anything you turn in, like exams and stuff, I'm going to be looking at that. And once we have that, remember, you need the same number of equations as unknown, at least, to be able to answer the question. As I said, we'll see some weird situations, but now you're going to need 3 equations to answer and find those 3 unknowns.